Hey everybody. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, how's it going today?
Yep. Jason, it is a day. You are correct, and I am in it. So welcome everyone to the day which you are also in, and together we're going to get through it. And maybe you just downloaded this accidentally and you thought we were a fashion podcast. But for those of you that have done that, welcome. But what we're going to talk about today is Google. If you manage Google Ads for clients, if you have a Google Ads campaign that you manage for yourself, if you want to learn how, if you have someone that manages it for you and you are literally listening to us to learn how to understand what they're saying and then catch them in their own bullcrap, welcome. I know people do that as well. So I literally just got an email from someone that said that. So I'm so glad you guys are here. Jason is my best digital friend. Never met him. We are hundreds of miles apart. And even when we're just a few miles apart, he still refuses to see me in person because he wants not to corrupt that digital friendship with a physical, deep physical friendship. So
Chris, I want to thank everyone for sending in their 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Helps the show grow. Right now, if you go to Apple Podcasts or probably any podcast player and you search Google Ads, Podcast, AdWords, PPC, we're probably number one. But if you keep leaving these 5-star reviews, we could just start showing up number one for more and more stuff.
Fashion.
That's the way the algorithm works, we think. Yeah, fashion, marketing, business, marriage, just anything. We want to be number one. And the way we do that, dating while you're married. The way we do that is through getting 5-star reviews. So we thank you for sending those in. This one comes from Tommy from Australia.
Wow.
5 stars. Title, thank you both. And his review was sensational. That's all he said. So we appreciate that.
Beautiful.
He must have had to go
He's a busy guy.
Something to do out there in Australia. Yeah. Busy guy. But we appreciate it. Still counts, 5 stars. So we thank you for doing that. Change. I guess that's the word to describe today's episode. Well, hold on. Here's a better word. Changes. Plural. Because we all got hit with a lot of changes in the last few days as Google Ads managers and as advertisers on Google Ads. We're going to talk about those today. We're also going to take you back in time and talk about all the changes we've been through and see if there's a way to kind of get through this together and see how we can continue to keep running great campaigns and making clients a lot of money out there. So we're going to talk about all the changes we've seen, all the changes we're dealing with this week, and how we're going to get through them. But before that, we have a message from Chris.
One thing that can help you get through the changes, and we're going to talk about a bunch of them through the years. One thing that can help is to have a system that helps you account for new things that you don't know about. And Optio is a great online digital platform tool for Google Ads. If you want to get more out of Google Ads, you should sign up for a 8-week free trial of Optio. That's opteo.com/PSP2. Use a little chat box down at the bottom. Tell them you heard about the show from the Paid Search Podcast, and they'll give you an 8-week free trial. That's more than anyone else gets. And the reason I suggest you should do this is because do it now, because you're about to be hit with a long list of changes and things that you didn't know. You're going to be surprised by all the things that happened in Google Ads. There's a lot of things that happened in Google Ads over the years. And what you don't know can hurt you in Google Ads. If you don't know that certain things have been changed, if you don't know that you're missing out on new opportunities, you may not realize that your campaign is underperforming. Optio can help you remember those things, perform better, and have wonderful little processes that you go through. It's like a little workout for your campaign. And every day, your campaign gets a little stronger. Now you can do 15 push-ups. Now you can do 20. You're going to get stronger. You're going to get better. Optio is your Google Ads workout partner. So sign up for it. Get good. We thank them for their sponsorship.
All right, thanks, Chris. And what we're going to do on this episode, we're going to talk about the changes. We're going to talk about how to handle them as Google Ads managers, as advertisers, in terms of performance and just technically dealing with the changes. And then for people that are in the business and want some more business talk, we do the Patreon after show every single week. It's on Patreon. You can go to our website. There's a link to it. $2 a month for audio, $4 a month for video. And then we have a cool super tier that's a little bit higher, and there's a lot going on with that, and you can read about that. So in Patreon today, we're going to be talking more kind of business-wise, what we think this means for us and how we're kind of reacting to these changes and handling them business-wise. And then today on the PSP, we're going to talk about more just what these technical changes are, and then just some maneuvers inside your account in terms of how we plan to handle them technically. So with that said, Chris, I want to hand this over to you to take us through the changes that we've seen through recent history, the last few years. Go however fast you want to go. I'll chime in where you need me, and then we'll kind of break down 2020 changes together.
All right, so let's go back, not too far back, 2016, okay? And one big change, you may not even remember this. A lot of these you may not remember because you get so used to what Google looks like now, but there used to be ads on the far right-hand side of the screen. The columns were two smaller columns. There wasn't one giant column like we have now with tons of information. It covers the whole screen. Before, it was a little bit smaller column on the left and a thin column on the right. And the right column had ads. This made a big difference because you could still show in 5th position and still be above organic, right?
Honestly, 6 or 7, like above the fold at least, depending on how big the browser was.
Is a huge difference, massive difference. So now, after this was implemented, now there is, what we refer to now as a absolute top percentage, which is first, and then top percentage, which is above organic. And those are typically 3 to 4 positions, and that's it. So it's limited the number of times your ad has a possibility to show above organic, which that's really big. 2016 was actually a very big year for changes. I think we started the podcast around that same time. So It was a huge year. And next, something we harped on a lot was the major redesign, which is now the world we're living in now. Major redesign was announced. We griped
the interface.
Yeah, the interface. Google Ads interface was starting to change, and you could swap to the new experimental updated view, and there was tons of things that were missing. We were very unhappy with that, and now we're at a point when we can actually do more with the interface. They finally brought in all the features that we want, from the old one, and we can do pretty much everything there. So we overcame losing right-hand side ads, although now there's lower number of ads that can show. We now have an ability to, which was also announced in 2016, have expanded text ads. So now that they have limited the amount horizontally that's going to show, and they've expanded it vertically, now we have more room horizontally. So we can show expanded text ads. So we got 3 headlines. We got 2 descriptions. We got a lot more to work with. So where one thing was taken away from, we got more from the other. So this was all announced in 2016, really big year. And then we move in to something that we reference a lot, 2017. 2017, really the only thing that I have here as far as something that's of note is close variance. So close variance is something that showed up on some keyword match types, never on exact. I don't think it was very common on phrase, but on broad, it was very common. Close variance means if you have the keyword oil change near me, you might show up on a close variant that says oil changes near me. Like how do I get, who does oil changes near me type of search. So change versus changes, subtle little changes like that now becomes a little broader. It could be, changes to the word itself or completely different words itself. That's what it means by close variants. We're loosening a bit further back in 2017.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's a lot of emotion around close variants, especially when we're going to talk about what we're talking about today with the search term update. But I would still say, if I had a choice, like, okay, they could have never introduced close variants on all the match types, or they could have. I would vote for them to do that, to, yes, include close variants, because what I found it to do for me is I've been able to focus on fewer keywords, more important keywords, and through search terms, which are important and we'll talk about in a minute, and negative keywords, I've been able to show up on more searches and kind of get an opportunity to get more conversions for my clients. And there's a cost to that with the close variants. You see some bad stuff come through, more bad stuff than we used to, but you can handle that with negative keywords. So I found that one to be a change I had to get used to because what we were promised, phrase is phrase, exact is exact, and what we were trained on changed. And so that was a lot to get used to. But now that I've kind of gotten through that, I do like the close variants aspect. There's so many searches people do that are close to the search that it is worth to me the cost of seeing some bad ones that you eventually negative out.
Yeah. And a bit of trivia for you. I've been in Google Ads for a long time. There used to be a day when you could actually choose, does this campaign allow close variants or do not allow close variants? That used to be
really
an option.
That's hilarious.
Can you imagine? Nobody ever used it because just like you thought, everybody was like, why would I want that? I want the keywords that I want. Everybody was against thinking that a close variant was a good thing. So, in reality, it's been nice as long as you pay attention to what your close variants are and what you're getting outside of that. But back then,
so it wasn't even popular.
I never turned it on. I never used it because I assumed it was, like, I don't think I ever really tested it like I should have, but I assumed it was a bad thing. It's like, no, don't choose different keywords. Automation, no. 2018, the new UI is now forced upon us. Same thing as before, but as Jason came to discover, you can no longer go back to the classic. You can now are forced to use the new interface. And Google changed its names to Google Ads instead of Google AdWords. Big deal, but it was for those of us that work in this space because all of our promotional and websites and things like that, we had to change stuff on our websites. So that was kind of a big deal for some of us. And finally, the exact match now includes close variants. So you can see what really matters. These big highlights are things like close variants when they start to force changes that force us to change the way that we manage campaigns. So the UI is changed. They remove the side ads, so now there's more ad text but less ads. They force us to consider close variants all the way down to exact match. This is just 2 years ago. This is 2018. It's not that long ago.
Yeah, thinking back on it, the variants, the platform, the interface, the branding, the style of the ads, the layout. Not to mention, we didn't mention the color behind the ads used to be yellow.
That's true.
The whole area.
Yeah.
Then there was the green little box that said ad. It was very green. Then it got just a green outline, and then it got changed to be black, just like the organic listings. So a lot's happened.
A little short time there was that icon. There's that tiny little icon.
Little icon. I forget if it's on mobile or desktop, but they made it look.
It was way
too similar.
It was people got upset because they're like, you can't even tell.
Interestingly, that was like the one time since I've been doing this that I saw the kind of people online that are in this space kind of get fired up, and Google actually change course.
Yep, that's true.
And it's hard to even remember. I think it was on desktop. It just those little icon things started showing up on the ads as well. And I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember it went mainstream. It was in the New York Times. And I just remember it really did affect the way your eyes looked down a search page.
Yep.
And I think it was too big of a change for search users, not just advertisers.
Right.
And I think that's why they reversed course on that.
Yeah, because it affected organic and paid. Organic people were upset too, because suddenly you can't even tell what's organic and what's paid. It blended all of us together. So yeah, I agree.
Right. Now, Chris, it hasn't been a long time. It's only been 4 years or so. That little over 4 years we've been doing this. Those are massive changes. But I still think what we talked about in those first 100 episodes, for the most part, is very relevant. And I encourage everyone to go to paidsearchpodcast.com, click a link over to the archive page, and we have our first 100 episodes for sale. You can buy them individually each for a small price. And then if you want to bulk buy them 25 at a time, we have a discount. I do think a lot of those episodes still are relevant and apply, because a lot of what we talked about in those first 100 episodes was theory.
Yep.
Theory. And I think, we got to talk about that in Patreon today and maybe a little later in this episode. Lots changing with this platform. But the whole idea of someone doing a search and showing up on that search and people wanting to advertise their business there, that theory is still the same theory. And so you kind of have to do the same thing we've been talking about for years now. But anyway, Chris, as we got into 2019, things picked up.
Yep. All right, guys. So next, again, close variance was a big deal. Now that everything has close variance, now there's even a broader expansion of what close variance mean in broad and phrase. And I would say at this point that we're at now, I wouldn't say that I can really tell a difference between close variant on how often it shows up for broad, phrase, or exact. I mean, they all feel like they're at the same volume of close variance.
You can technically, if you want to add that keyword column to the search terms report. But I get what you're saying. If you're running phrase match, you're running exact, you're running very heavily enforced broad match modified modifiers on most words in the phrase, or at least most of the, I say keywords, I don't mean keywords, I mean the key words in the phrase have modifiers on them. Let me speak for both of us and tell me if you agree, Chris. I run broad, match modified, phrase, and exact in the same ad groups for the most part. And I treat them as basically the same kind of keywords, where I just judge the cost per conversion and conversion rate performance on them and make my bidding adjustments that way. And whatever shows up in the search terms report, if it looks really weird and there's a lot of it, then I'm going to the keyword column and I'm like, okay, is there a weird broad match modified bringing those in where I forgot a modifier? But for the most part, I treat all three match types the same now if I'm heavily modified, and I just go off of the performance because, like you're saying, everything has the variance. Would you say you do the same, or do you look at broad match modified different? Because I've seen you do it a little bit looser sometimes. To try to get some data.
Yeah, I don't.
You seem to use that as like a very specialized tool, a very loose broad match modified. You like that?
I definitely do not have all three match types in one ad group. Not because I think that's a bad thing, but just because I tend to put more weight on the top and the bottom. So in other words, I'll use modified.
You love exact too?
Yeah, I'll do modified broad, and if I find something I really like, I jump straight to exact match on a variation of what came through on that modified broad. So I don't typically play around a whole lot with the phrase match unless I find what we refer to as a yellow keyword, something that's particularly I'm worried about. So that's interesting. But we both consider the same theory, but we have different practice on how we do it. So I like that. Yeah. Next, we'll run through these real quick. Expansion of smart bidding and automated bidding.
This was the biggest change in everything we talked about, I think. Yeah. Maybe next to variance, but there's been a lot of energy put on the move to automated bidding, including the army of people that they seem to very heavily love automated bids. They're not employed by Google. They're just random people out there that every time I say the word manual bidding,
they're like, what?
They come after me and they're like, they grab me by the collar and they're like, don't you like automated bidding?
Right.
I think you'll like it if you just try it one more time. And I'm like, I've tried it. I like it, but I do manual most of the time. And then they punch me right in the throat, Chris. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And they're like, thank you. I think you'll like it if you just. People who love it.
I know.
Is what I'm saying.
That's true. Yeah, there are, and
they love it.
That's the big thing is if you had no communication with the outside world, you would not necessarily know that it was such a big deal because you wouldn't be bombarded with people telling you this is what standard practice is. This is what best practice is. I think what really changed is not so much one versus the other or anything. I mean, they kind of hid manual bidding in the settings now. It's kind of hidden in there. But I think the big thing is they've changed what best practice means. Best practice now includes a certain bid type, which is that I think is what's really changed.
They've also, and you might have just been saying this a different way, they've also expanded, quote unquote, automated bidding to automated bidding under like 5 different names, whatever your goal is.
Yeah.
Maximize clicks, a target CPA, most conversions possible, which to me have always been like, isn't most conversions a target CPA because you want the most conversions? And that's how you get. But anyway,
target impression
they kind of give
share.
it to you the way you want it.
Yeah, and there's tons of different versions. But when we say manual, we're only talking about manual. Like there's only one version of manual. You know, there's only one diamond. There's lots of different carats of gold, but there's only one diamond. How do you like that,
Chris? Can we just take a second and just when I think about manual bidding, Chris, I feel so good. I'm on a beach with manual bidding. We're lying on beach chairs out on a private island together. It's probably 83 degrees, maybe 86 at the high.
Nice.
The sun's out. We've got oil. Ooh. We're in our bathing suits. Wow. We're suntanning. I'm with manual bidding. Manual bidding's reading their book. I'm reading mine. Every few minutes, we take a sip of our Mai Tai and we look at each other and we're just like, I love you, but we don't even have to say it.
That's beautiful.
I love manual bidding so much, Chris. I love it so much. Anything that I want to do, whatever the client's goals are. Hey, I want to show up number 1 on this specific word. Hey, I want to get the most conversions possible. Hey, I'm willing to get my cost per conversion up 20% if it means I can get more conversions. Anything they want, I can do with manual bidding.
I got you.
Anything.
Good thing that's not the news that we're sharing today, Jason. It's not the news that manual bidding's gone because you might just crumble. All right. So let's go to the last thing. Last thing was responsive search ads, blah, blah, blah. Great. They have them. I'm not a big fan. Let's move to 2020. Here we go. So let's run through the big stuff. And let's hit 2020,
just like everything else in the world, it hit us too, Chris. It finally hit us.
Crappiest year
with these
ever.
Changes.
So,
oh man.
So a couple small things. Google Shopping now includes free listings. Boy, that was a...
What does that mean? I don't, because I'm not in the e-commerce world.
For every client I've talked to, it's been very underwhelming. So essentially it means you can now, if you are listed on Google, if you've submitted everything and you are part of the Google Shopping thing, you can show up organically now in the same way that you show up organically on Google.com. So is exactly what you would think. Billions and billions of possibilities, and you're going to get a very small fraction of that. If you really want to make an impact, just like in Google Ads, pay money. That's how you're really going to get your ad up there where you want it. So very underwhelming from what I've seen. Next, local service ads are expanding. I think we'll get into that at some other time, but we don't talk a lot about local service ads. It's kind of meh. Not a big fan of them. And then, wait, Jason, you added this. I didn't add these other ones. So,
oh yeah, you might not even be aware of this one, but it is a very important thing. I think you saw this when someone shared it in our Patreon group the other day. But there is a possibility that Google is looking at phasing out expanded text ads and going only responsive ads on search. The reason people are thinking that might happen is because just recently, in the last week or so, for some accounts, not everybody, but when you click on add an ad in a search campaign, all you see there is call ad, responsive ad, and some other kind of ad. And in order to get to expanded text ads, it's kind of like manual bidding. You have to do some kind of hidden find. And Chris, I know you say you can still do it, but this article, and I'll tell everyone out there, it's by Jenny Marvin. It's on Search Engine Land. It said, is Google prepping to phase out ETAs? With all the changes we're seeing, Chris, I don't like seeing this one. Like, even though we can still get expanded text ads in accounts that have had this test going on, you have to kind of click to expanded text ads. They're no longer like just right in front of you, and they're a little bit hidden or whatever. Yeah, it's nice you can still get them, but I don't like seeing this based on all the other changes we're seeing. It's kind of not a good sign. So just something to be aware of. If people are listening, they go into their account, they like expanded text ads like we do, kind of like the equivalent to manual bids for ads. You control everything. And then all of a sudden they click add an ad and they don't see it there. Well, go to this article and it'll tell you how to find it.
Well,
at least as of now.
For me, it's not a big deal because even with the responsive search ads, I can still create an expanded text ad by using the pinning feature on that. So, but if they take out the pinning feature, okay, then I'm throwing a fit. But yeah, and that's hey, that is not nearly a big of a deal for me as
the big one
that we heard about on our Patreon Facebook group first. I did not hear about this. Guys, pop that text.
Question for you. Did you see it there first, or did you see me sending you the screenshot of it?
Yeah, it was you sending me the screenshot. I don't check it that much. But search terms report.
What was your reaction?
I can't say what. Jason.
Okay.
That's for Patreon. I'll tell you.
All right. Hey, big guy, big dog. Take it easy. Okay. Breathe. Take it easy. Nice
search
and easy.
terms
in and out.
report is changing. And to make it as simple as possible without using all the lingo and all this stuff, essentially, if you got 100 clicks, it's been very common that you might get 80 search terms, right?
Maybe more.
Yeah, maybe 90 search terms. Very rarely would you get 100 search terms. Very rarely would you be able to see every single one of those search terms that related to a click. There's always a small percentage that's hidden, and that's fine, okay? I've never really known exactly why, but some of those are hidden. You can't see them all. But we get 95%, 85% of those showing. Now, and what's really scary is, what is that percentage going to change to? Google is saying that they're going to change the volume of hidden searches. So there will now be some type of threshold that a search term must hit before it's going to be shown. This is essentially what we call a one-to-one, one impression, one click. But
wrong. I'm not going to accept that.
You don't think that's it?
Maybe it's the most popular search term on your account.
Oh.
How do you know it's one-to-one that they're not going to show you? That's bad news, huh?
Yeah.
So let's just, let me tell everyone the update we're seeing in our accounts. And again, Jenny Marvin from Search Engine Land is on this. Google Ads to limit search terms reporting, citing privacy, September 2nd, 2020. You can find that article. Do a search for it. But if you go into your account, at least on all my accounts, when you click the alerts thing or whatever, you can see changes to the search terms report. We are updating the search terms report to only include terms that were searched by a significant number of users. Okay, Chris, maybe your most popular ones will still show up. We are updating the search terms report to only include terms that were searched by a significant number of users. As a result, you may see fewer terms in your report going forward. Someone in our Patreon group sent us a link to a blog out there who had compared like the first day of this versus previous. And I think they went from like 97 something percent seeing search terms for all their clicks down to the 70s or something like that.
Okay.
But who knows? Who knows how much this is going to affect people? I think this is little out of step here. I think it's a good change. I think this is a positive development. I think that if you're going down your search terms report and you're worried about a lot of one-for-ones, you're just kind of wasting time. So I think more time can be put into ad copy, more time can be put into finding new keywords. And as long as we're still getting our main search terms, I think this is a positive change and make things leaner and faster.
Okay.
Just kidding. I just like being a salesman. I want to see if I could sell anything, and I was trying to sell it there.
Yeah, okay.
So,
well, I like the contrast.
Like that,
I like the contrast because I think that's what makes this podcast
I think this
great.
is a good change. You like that? What do you think?
What a great salesman! Absolutely, it's a great. Let me tell you the other side of it, Jason. obviously doesn't believe that in full.
No, at all.
Okay.
This is a bad thing. This is a bad thing, and this is the worst thing.
Explain why. Why is it a bad thing? Why does someone need to see one impression, one click? It's a very small amount.
Number one, there's a human element. We're all just at the end of the day human beings, and one of the worst things you can do to human beings is give them something, set expectations, and then take it away.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing, I mean, how many times do you think I've said search terms on all our episodes?
Oh my gosh.
How many times have I promoted that Google Ads was different, and I made fun of TV advertisers? I made fun of direct mail because with Google Ads, you had full control and you could see every single search that people typed into Google when they clicked on your ads. That's a huge selling point when I talk to my clients because they know we can be as efficient as we want to be with their budget. And we can do as good as a job as possible because we get all that data. So on a human element, it's tough because we had it and they're taking it away. And then on a performance Google Ads element, we'll see. If they're taking away the bottom 3% of search terms, it's not going to affect things that much. But we all know in our guts, that's probably not what's going on.
Yeah.
Not what is going on here. I'd be very surprised if these changes aren't significant
50.
And we lose a significant amount of data. 50% of your clicks, 30%, 20%, 60%. Who knows? We don't know. I'll put it this way. I don't like the direction we're going down because we were at near 100% and now we're less than 100%. So what happens in 3 years? Do we get even more less than 100%? And then what happens when we never get it? Maybe one day. Who knows? I don't like the trend we're going here. But the reason it affects you is because on the positive keyword side, you can't get ideas. There's so many ideas that come from search terms that you're like, oh, I only got one click on this, but there's that one word in the search where I had never thought of that before. Now I'm going to do some keyword research on that and add a bunch of keywords. That's what the top Google Ads managers do. I think for most people, it's really hurt on the negative keyword side. You don't know what you're paying for now, and to some extent.
Yep.
And so
mystery.
You don't know what to block out with your negative keyword. So in a second, we'll talk about, I've come up with an idea how you can handle this technically, what technical in the account. But the big problem is you don't know what you're showing up on to some extent now, and you don't know what negative keywords you need to block to clean up your data. That's the biggest problem here. And in the Search Engine Land article, someone referenced it. Hey, by the way, close variants are getting pretty variant these days.
Yeah.
And so if you add on close variants as well as not being able to see all your search terms, now you're really kind of like, dang, what am I showing up on? What do I need to block as negative keywords? That's the biggest thing to me. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah. Boy, that's a great point.
Did I say it? I guess I said it all.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. Well, I want to be super practical on this because, if a Google person listens to this podcast, as the number one Google Ads podcast in the world, I think there's a good chance that someone might listen. So let me explain, if I have their ear, exactly what it means to those of us that maybe we don't. I'm not talking about $500 campaigns. I'm talking about the vast majority that's in the higher end, thousands of dollars per month kind of campaigns, which represents a vast majority of campaigns that are run on Google Ads. What it means for those middle of the road, medium-sized businesses out there is when we do search term research, very different from keyword research. I hear people talk about keyword research. What's really impactful is search term research. When you can go back over years of data and you can search the word small and find out how well has small converted for me. How well does this one little phrase convert? What information do I have about that? And that can make massive difference in me determining what to target, what not to target, turn things off, turn things on, triple my budget because I find an entirely new industry or vertical or something like that I could target that I never thought about doing before. Search term research is massive. And if I lose half of my impressions or half of my search terms, I now lose half of my research for search terms. There's no better argument that I have for Google Ads than to tell someone you will never find a better way to get real data about your industry. I tell clients all the time, I said, you may lose...
Mr. B2B.
Yeah. I now have an ability to say, now, before this change, I could say, you may spend $5,000, but I will have excellent information about what people are clicking, how much volume, where they're clicking, what ad copy they respond best to, and you may not get a single conversion, but you have paid for data. Now, if we're losing half of that, I can't even guarantee that we're going to get solid data. I can't tell them exactly what was being searched, what they were clicking on, what was responsive. That's huge. That's huge.
And by the way, Chris, what does this mean for the B2B client that maybe isn't expecting any leads in the first few months, but they want to gather data and find out the way their customers across the country are searching for their product or service, and they're only spending $500 a month, $300 a month, $1,000 a month. We know clients like that. Well, read the words here again, Chris. We are updating the search terms report to only include terms that were searched by a significant number of users. What does significant mean? Does that mean if you're running a $500 a month B2B campaign and just trying to gather data and you only get 15 clicks a month and none of them are searched by a significant number of users, does that mean you get 0 search terms in that campaign?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not good. And here's the thing. They're saying they're doing this for privacy reasons. Well, again, I referenced this article. It seems like that could be done in a more limited, granular fashion. What is privacy? What are we trying to protect here? What can we expect we're not going to see anymore? Is it about housing? They just came out with you can't do demographic bidding on housing and jobs and stuff like that. Is it those kind of searches? Is it medical searches? But if you're going to tell me someone is doing moving searches, movers near me, moving companies in Nashville, office movers NYC to Miami, what's private about any of those searches? How come I can't see almost 100% of my search terms like I used to? By the way, that helps me get good results for the client, which, by the way, helps them want to keep giving money to Google. So, I mean, it was a huge selling point in terms of the service I offer. Now, we're going to talk about it in Patreon, how you deal with this as a manager, how you deal with this just in business. I guess I'll just preview that for a second. I mean, what else can you do? Let's all calm down a little bit. We talked about it. We're learning about the changes. There's nothing you can do. So we're all going to have to see how much this impacts our search terms reports. And maybe for some industries, they don't see a big change. Maybe for others, they see a change. But at the end of the day, there are still going to be search terms there for now. Continue what I was doing beforehand, looking for new keyword ideas from it, looking for negative keyword ideas from it, managing my bids based on the cost per conversion performance, the positioning performance. That's all I can do, Chris. But it's good to know that these changes are in place and we're just going to have to roll with them.
Yep. Guys, take an active role in your Google Ads management. Try out a tool that has been there and will continue to be there for you because they are pro Google Ads software, optio.com/PSP2. This is a software that Jason and I both use and like, and I'm telling the truth, many of our listeners have tried it and like it and subscribe to it even after the trial is over. It's a price that is worth the investment. It's a great tool, and the cool thing is you can get through 2 cycles of a month to try it out, to see. And it's great because you can compare month over month. How much time did I save and what kind of results did I see for my campaigns? I mean, that's what it comes down to. Can I do more with less? That's what Optio is there for. Optio.com/PSP2. And with that, we thank you guys for listening. Week after week, we are here for years now. Hundreds of episodes, hundreds of hours. Thank you for listening. And we're going to jump into our very cheap, very affordable $2 Patreon discussion that you can join us for. PaidSearchPodcast.com. Lots of stuff that you can check out there, as well as the link to the Patreon. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.